Hello, and welcome to ABW Live. How are we all? I see we got two. Yep, that's two of you in the chat box. The Pink Panthers there. Hello, how are we? We've entitled this ABW Live Not So Live Season's Greetings. It's just a bit of a kick-off show. We're going to do some transfer stuff in the weeks coming up. But tonight, I just thought it'd be me and Dom just talking about our hopes for the summer and for the upcoming season. So, a shout out to the Pink Panther. How the devil are you? Well, it's 5 watching now, apparently. That's a bit more than I thought we'd get. So here's my guest. It's the magnificent. It's the one and only. It's Super Dom Muskie.
How are you, Jace? We've been trying all week to get this organised. Now that I'm back home in Australia, the time difference has really done a number on us.
Oh, mate, I don't be funny. I got a week off this week, okay? And in all honesty, podcasting has been the last thing I've been thinking about doing. But, you know, because we're not going to get a chance to do this that often, I thought we've got to do it. Oh, we got Mr. Primo Vision says, good night from Jamaica. Hello, Mr. Primo Vision. Brandon Jason Grosso's there. Happy 4th of July, Brandon Jason Grosso. Aren't you at the parade? I'm not going to go down that route. Let's not go down there. How's the move been from Canadaland to...
Mate, it was busy. These last few months have been quite full on. But yeah, we're all good now. Back home and settled. Been back here a couple of weeks. Back to winter, which is a little unfortunate, but you know.
Listen here, mate, okay? Let's not compare your winters to our winters,
Look,
okay?
14 degrees, I don't care what you say. 14 degrees is a bit chilly.
Okay, yeah, for you it is. The magnificent Alonso Spencer's in the chat box, and he says, Happy Independence Day, guys. Alonso, careful with that, mate. I might just decide to take over again. Okay? That's all I'm saying. He's taking a break from work. Good man, Alonso. Good man. Okay, pal. So, obviously, we haven't spoken since, it was towards the end of last season when we last spoke about the Arsenal.
Yep.
Obviously, we had the collapse at the end of the season and not our finest cup final ever. Mark Mertz said, happy tactical retreat day. I like that a lot. AJ's there. Oi, mate, you're not a born Londoner. You're made one. You're not born a Londoner.
That was good, that. I did like that. Hopefully that's not the highlight of our season, but I did quite enjoy that.
And Alan Craig is there. Hello, Alan. Sorry, guys. There's people joining in the box. This is unplanned, so...
Yeah, I'm surprised anyone's in there, so... Thanks for stopping by. I'm probably assuming it's most of the North American viewers because it's prime time for them right now, isn't it? That's just how we roll, Jace. You know, we're trying to please everyone.
Exactly. Danny the GFP's there says, hello, my darlings.
He never sleeps.
He doesn't. Well, actually, he's going to bed now. Archie's there. And Archie says, people celebrating the kits like we're serious in the transfer market. We're going to cover that in a bit, Archie. We really are going to cover that. So Dom, guys, if you pop in the chat box, I will try to get to you. We're going to try to keep us moving a little bit because I've got to go to bed soon. You know, I mean, I need my beauty sleep. I'm not that pretty to begin with. You know, not like the body wonder from down under here. So the end of the season, as we know, gut wrenching, disappointing. Embarrassing. We flopped, and now we come into the summer. Obviously, Rambo's left, Welbs has left, Czech has left, Ospina's left today. There's a number of others. Alex Steiner's left. Don't know who else. And the only in so far is Gabriel Martinelli. There's plenty of rumours flying around. Okay, you know, we're linked with a number of players. What are your kind of thoughts on, you know, what are the areas do you think we need strengthening? And who are the players that you think we need to target?
In terms of players that we need to target, look, I'm probably about as helpful as you are on that one, to be honest, Jace. We need
whoa. I can
let's
name
be
the whole
honest.
Welsh squad.
I was just about to say we don't need to go and get what's his face. Oh, what's that defensive midfielder that's not a defensive midfielder you always bang on about? Who's at Liverpool? Oh God, he'd be good, Dom. He'd be good. No, he wouldn't. He'd be shite.
Joe Allen would strengthen our midfield.
Well, that's not hard though. I'd strengthen the midfield. But to be serious, that is probably one area that I think everyone's spoken about wide players, attacking wide players, which would be great. You know, a little bit of strengthening in defence, which would also be great. But I think from what I saw, some of the biggest issues that we had last season was linking the defensive build-up play to the forwards. Yeah. Getting the ball to Mesut Ozil quicker so he could do something with it. Getting the ball up to Lacazette and Aubameyang in behind defenders versus kick the ball around sideways for long enough that the defenders can get back and set up, and then you're just trying to kick your way through a brick wall. And I just thought that our transition from backwards to forwards was very, very slow. And I think the only player that really helped us was Aaron Ramsey in that. One of the main factors. Xhaka did have good games now and then, but he was a liability a lot of the time too. Torreira, that's not his game. You know, he's there to break up the play in the first place, and then it's up to somebody else to come along and try and link the play forward. I thought Hector Bellerin was very, very good at doing that, but you don't want to rely on your wing backs, and then he got injured. So I think that was a really big issue that we had, especially later in the season. And all of the talk about the way that we collapsed at the end of the season, I think both you and I pointed out that without Aaron Ramsey, that was going to be a big issue. I don't think people realised he was a polarising player. I get that. But I still think that even the Boo Boys didn't give the guy enough credit for just how important he was at doing what I was just explaining. Linking and running and carrying and making those passes and getting the ball moving quickly, because that was what he was always trying to do.
No, absolutely.
And then without him in the midfield, we're relying on Elneny. We're relying on who else was it in there?
Guendouzi,
yeah, they're just not the same caliber. They're just not, and I think that really hurt us towards the end of the season.
Quick couple of shout outs. First of all, Tim Alstrom, and he says, finally watching the live broadcast after listening to the podcast. Tim, welcome.
Welcome aboard, sir.
You are very, very, very welcome. AJ says, sign Alan Wynne-Jones. He'd do a job in defence, that's for certain.
Yeah, that's not hard though.
Sharad Parler's there, and K-Man 1867 is there as well. We'll come on to Tierney later, K-Man, and we'll discuss Zaha as well. Okay.
So what about you then, Jace? You know, I've kind of highlighted the midfield is something I'm very concerned about, to be honest. I don't think we have the quality in there that's required.
I look at it, okay, mate, and I look at the midfield. I like Guendouzi. I'm a bit annoyed with his play acting towards the end of the season. I like Torreira, but I'm not on board with these guys being superstars as some people. Oh, my God. J-Rob has just popped in with donation, and he says, hello, chaps. Hope all is well. J-Rob, you're a rock star, mate, and you're far, far, far too generous. Top man, thank you ever so much. You know, these are young players making their way. You know, do you know what I mean? And Guendouzi's a jogger. You know, he's not somebody who will gets up the pitch quickly enough. All our midfielders. You know, we can talk about Elneny. He didn't really play until Emery's hand was forced. But all these guys, Xhaka, Torreira, and Guendouzi, like the ball in front of them. Okay, and yeah, it doesn't. If you want to transition quickly, that's you need athleticism and the skill set to do it, and that just doesn't work with these guys. So you need a change of personnel. You need somebody with a bit more athleticism, and you need a little bit of a different skill set. And I know we've spoken a lot about wide men in the past, but Emery likes all his width from the fullbacks.
Yeah.
So I don't see where a wide man fits that kind of.
It could help defensively too, though, Jace. If you put someone up there that's a genuine wide man that can actually get past, because Aubameyang's not getting to the touchline and crossing balls in, is he?
No.
And neither's Mkhitaryan. So we didn't really have those proper wide men that can get down the flanks that could sort of play that role. And that might actually help us defensively, because potentially then Hector Bellerin doesn't have to constantly bomb forward and be caught way out of position if the ball gets turned over. Maybe we'll have a wide man up there that can also share that role. So it's an interesting one. I don't hate it. I think that it's important for sure. I think wide man's very important to kind of throw a different. That's what Theo Walcott did so well. Even if he was having a bad game, he was a threat, and it made the defenders have to think, and it causes those defenders to get caught in two minds. And what I found with our forward line is it was very one-dimensional, because that was never going to be something that defenders would have to worry about.
Well, that pace kept them honest, didn't it? Quick shout out, RK is in the chat box, and he says Xhaka is slower than Mertesack's grandmother. Bit harsh on Mertesack's grandmother there, RK. And
she was an elite athlete, was she not? I think he inherited his grandfather's genes.
And Isaac Keown's in there, and it's his first time in the chat box as well. So Isaac, you are very, very welcome as well. Great to have you on board, pal. You know, I think, you know, a lot of this is going to depend on, you know, we're hypothesizing at the moment. Is Emery going to stick to, try to forge an identity next season? Obviously, our defence needs solidifying. We know that. You know, up front, the strikers, we've got no worries on, as long as we're not going to sell them or anything. But, you know, I think it's going to take more than a couple of ins. I think you may need a couple of outs in the midfield. You know, we've lost Ramsey for nothing. And then he looks like he's on his way. But, you know, I don't think one player is going to do it. I think you need a couple of players.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
to come in.
I think, you know, we don't know what someone like Reece Nelson could bring to the table next season as well, if he gets enough game time. But that's what I mean by the two players, though. You know, that's what I mean by in terms of wide players. If we are to sign one, and it sounds like that is something that we're trying to do, you have that player plus a Reece Nelson. You've got two young potential kids that could come in and really shine and develop, and that is exciting. You know, that is something that is nice to look forward to, as opposed to something like a Denis Suarez signing, which to me was never an exciting signing. It was never going to be.
It was a joke. It was embarrassing.
Well, look, even if he played a part, you know what you're going to get. He wasn't going to flourish into some kind of superstar all of a sudden. It was very, very obvious. Barca were trying to force us to permanently sign him, so that was obviously saying something. So we dodged a bullet there, but I just want some exciting signings, you know, and Reece Nelson coming back into the team to me is an exciting prospect. Just something to look forward to, something to watch, and hopefully he can do well. But again, you don't want to put that pressure on him, do you? You don't want to bring him back in from one loan spell away and say, okay, you're going to be our superstar wide player, because we don't have one, and that's what you're going to do.
But this is the thing, funny enough, Gary Donahue meant, that's Gary Donahue, sorry. Who the hell mentioned that? Sorry, I'm in the chat box here. Oh, balls. So, I do apologise. Somebody mentioned Bielik and Chambers coming back in. Now, again, they're players. They're not athletically gifted. Like, you to get up and
we do need some strength and pace as well, don't we?
Yeah.
We really do need that play. And this is the thing. Again, I'm not trying to harp back to Ramsey and you know, make this into a candlelight vigil, although I'd love to. What he was able to do better than just about anyone in the Premier League is his engine was so amazing, or is so amazing, that he would get forward and he was an extra forward a lot of the time too, and that causes a lot of issues. And you're not going to see Guendouzi doing that. You're not going to see Elneny doing that, and that's what I think we do need, is a player that can do that Lampard, Gerrard, Aaron Ramsey-esque type thing, where they can find himself free in the box to help out going forward and just create more problems for defenses. Because I don't see us all of a sudden becoming a really defensively solid unit overnight. I think that takes time, that takes partnerships, and that takes a little bit of extra. You know, you look at someone like a Jurgen Klopp when he first got to Liverpool, and yeah, they were scoring a lot of goals, but they were also conceding a lot, and it took time to find that balance. To now, they are actually a very defensively solid unit, and they are still scoring a lot of goals. So I would just like to see us go out there and actually be more of an attacking threat, rather than going for a whole half of football with no shots on target.
The problem we got is, though, you know, at the back end of last season, we couldn't even keep the ball.
No, we were doing both, weren't we? We were conceding goals and not actually being able to create any. So that's always the concern. If you're conceding a few goals here and there, you'll kind of allow that a little bit as a fan, won't you? As long as you see that your team is a very attacking threat, and you can kind of go, look, we're a bit of a glass cannon.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun. Where, yes, we're likely to concede a goal here or there, but for 80% of the game, it looks like we're about to score.
But it's this thing, if you look at the cup final, it was very, it was a kind of carbon copy of a lot of those end of games, okay, where you look, we had possession, we didn't really look threatening. The Valencia game was all down to Aubameyang, the Valencia tie, both games down to Aubameyang and Lacazette performing out of their skins, and you just can't keep on doing that. But we couldn't keep the ball. We had no cohesion from the back or in midfield. So therefore, when they turned it over, obviously our lack of pace in the side, they're able, one smart ball down the field, they've split the defence, because we without Koscielny, you don't have any pace in there, and he's coming to an age now and coming off the back of a nasty injury where he can't do everything he used to be able to do when he was younger. But they'd split the D, and all of a sudden the players are in behind. So, it's something that Unai has to address this summer, okay? The change at management level with Sven going is noticeable this summer, There's no quick signings. I know we brought in Martinelli. He's a young kid that's been on the boards for a while.
Well, just to play devil's advocate on that, though, Jace, isn't a lot of that to do with the fact the club didn't want to announce any players in Puma gear until July 1st?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Okay, that is fair enough. But we've hardly announced Adidas or after new signings either, have we? I think there's more to this than meets the eye. I think that I don't want to be. I am negative at the moment. I don't hold up much hope for next season. I said that at the end of last season, but I don't want to beat anybody with a stick either. It's a fresh slate for everyone. And we've just got to, get excited for the new season, and hopefully.
Well, one thing I'm more optimistic about this time of year than I ever was under Arsene Wenger is the fact that I think that we're more happy to be ruthless and try and get rid of players, versus Arsene Wenger having that more of a fatherly figure approach sometimes, and maybe was. We always accused him of that sometimes his biggest flaw was also his biggest asset, and having too much faith in players and saying, oh no, well, Elneny wants to stay, therefore I like that, so therefore he can stay another season, versus knowing that he needs to be pushed out the door a little bit more. So that's where I'm a little more optimistic.
Where's the evidence?
With Arsene Wenger?
No. With Unai. Because
that's what I mean. He hasn't had a chance yet. Let's see. That's why I mean I'm optimistic that he will do that.
Bear with me. I'm looking at what happened last season now. You saw Mesut Ozil dropped, okay? You then saw him brought back into the team. You then saw more crap performances. You saw Mkhitaryan serve up awful football week in, week out. He's never seemed to pay the price. So I don't think ruthless is there yet. And hopefully, okay, yes, he can be ruthless. But if you're bringing up... But
you've also got other people involved now. It's not just Arsene Wenger, so it's not necessarily up to Emery to have to do that. He can say, "Here's the players I want," and other people at the club can now go and fleece off Mkhitaryan and be more ruthless with Elneny and really shop him around and do what needs to be done. Versus the season upon season upon season of players that are getting contracts that they shouldn't, and hanging around 3 seasons too long because Arsene wouldn't get rid of them. I think that's where I'm more optimistic is now the frustration I had through those times, Chase, is unbelievable. When you sit there and you watch Petr Cech get signed, and that's it. I think we're past that, is what I'm saying.
We shared those feelings, but it's all we've seen so far. Is Denis Suarez come in, okay, which was a joke. You've seen Ramsey leave the club for nothing. You've seen Welbeck leave the club for nothing. And there's all this talk of, we're freeing up wages. But you have to replace these players now. Charlotte Parler and I think Paul Friedman mentioned, okay, you got Nelson, you've got Willock, you've got Smith Rowe, you've got Nketiah. But these are all youngsters who, no offense to these guys, okay, because Nelson's had a decent season in Germany, but he hardly played a full season. A lot of his appearances are from the bench. Like, he didn't start that many games, right? When you look at Smith Rowe, there's a lot of talk about Smith Rowe being the next Pele, okay, off a couple of decent performances in the Europa League against, the Telegraph 11, right? Or, he may be a talent, but you have to nurture that talent, okay? The same with Will Luck. Will Luck put in a magnificent performance against Blackpool. Wasn't really seen until the end of the season. He did well when he came on in the Europa Cup final, but the game was over by then. Okay.
I mean, we could sit here for a whole podcast and name talented kids that we've all overhyped that never made it. The list is as long as your arm.
But this is the thing. Unai did not look like he was bringing through youngsters last season. He didn't look like he wanted to bring them through.
Yeah, but look, I'm not huge on Unai Emery. I'm giving him this season, and probably not even that, to be honest. I'll probably start getting annoyed halfway through the season if it goes the way I think it might. But you also have to remember, he's coming in after Arsene Wenger. It's his first season in a new country, and maybe he doesn't want to sit there and take the risks on trying to nurture a bunch of new kids, because we were in that fight for the top four. We were in that fight for the Europa League, and it was such a big thing for the club that I don't begrudge him from making some of those decisions, because it's not like any of those kids were also there banging down the door with hugely exciting performances and he's just refusing to play them. He's not out there with, kicking Anthony Martial to the bench and playing Alexis Sanchez every week, like Mourinho was. Like there's certain things where I look at it and go, look, he hasn't endeared himself to me yet, Unai Emery, at all. However, I do have to give the guy a break and think, well, what other choices did he have, really? It's not like the squad had so much depth that there's someone on the bench that we're all looking at screaming, going, why is this kid not playing? They've been amazing. Mkhitaryan's terrible. Because I do think he would have played the kid over Mkhitaryan if whoever it was, the other option, was performing well. Like you said, he did bench Mesut Ozil. He was playing either Lacazette or Aubameyang. He was doing some of these big decisions. He really was. And so I think that if there was an option there, he would have taken it. I just don't think the options were there, Jace.
I think you had the option there with Willock, and he didn't take it. And Brandon Jason Gross has put in the box here. We've given the most minutes in the league to under 23 players last season. But I'd like to see who you're categorising as under 23 players, because from what we saw, okay, we didn't really... you saw AMN playing right back as a necessity. Okay. Iwobi, maybe, I don't know what Iwobi's classed at nowadays. He was in and out, but that was due to performance. It's going to be interesting to see, we saw a lot of these tactical things that he did, which didn't kind of work out. It's going to be interesting to see how he takes it forward this season. So, okay, if you've got a choice now, okay, you can bring in 4 or 5 players. Okay. I said, got 5 players. What positions do you bring in?
I don't mind the left back. I don't think it's my biggest priority. I don't think Kolasinac was that bad.
He's bad going backwards, mate. He was awful.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, you can label that at everybody. But, however, that might be something that they've identified as was an actual big issue. But I thought, but this is the thing. It's not like we were scoring many and creating many goals. And he was asked to do a lot when Hector Bellerin got injured. And I felt sorry for Hector Bellerin at the start of the season. I remember saying, I'm like, man, I know the guy's fit, but geez, he's being asked to do a lot of work. He was expected to get up and attack and get back and defend, and it's just like I just didn't like that game plan at the time.
Yeah, but don't you think that's a managerial issue? Because
100%.
All the width came from the fullbacks.
100%.
It didn't come from anywhere else. Okay, and yet we run them into the ground. And it's unfortunate with the injuries. He really was. But then again,
and Rob
all
Holding
managers
and a few
are.
others.
All managers are.
Of course. So the left back position, though, the more I've thought about it, the more I've thought, you know what, maybe we do need someone a little bit more athletic that can track back and sort of do the opposite to what Bellerin was doing, because I thought that he was amazing until he unfortunately got injured. So the left back position's good. I think a centre back, obviously, because I don't think we can rely on Koscielny to do much more than once a week, if that. really. I think that him playing another season has kind of surprised me a little bit. I love the guy to pieces, but I don't think it's fair to be relying on him a whole lot. And then the wide player. But the big one for me, I don't hear a whole lot of chat about the midfield. And that's a little bit of a concern for me.
It is a bit, isn't it? I mean, for me, first of all, the magnificent Jackosaurus put in the group is that sexy Aussie beast or something. And the magnificent Kurt Walters said, tappy tappy. Well played, Kurt. Well played. Nobody's getting chastised today, though. It's beginning of the season. Paul Friedman says we should sign Megan Rapinoe. I'd sign her just for political views, to be honest. But then again, that's the way I roll. For me, you've got to be looking at bringing in 2 central mids. You have to replace Ramsey. You have to. And you have to add to the depth there.
Do you think, just on that, like you were saying, it's probably going to take 2, but here's the thing. Maybe Maitland-Niles gets more of a run in midfield next season, along with bringing someone else in. And there's your 2. Maybe
you've got Willock as well, okay? You need to get... Yeah, well, Elneny's done. That's poor bugger. He wasn't given a chance last season. He wasn't played, and then he was expected to deliver the world after 0 performances. So I didn't understand that. 2, how you're going to do that? But if you're going to ask, for argument's sake, if Unai says, right, the 2 new midfielders are going to be AMN and Joe Willock. Right, that's an awful lot of youngsters with just Xhaka as your experienced midfielder. Because Torreira's only 22. Okay, Guendouzi's 19. It won't work. It won't work. You know what? I know that. You need a backbone. You need a spine of this team. And, for as much as I love the talent that these guys bring, and I like both those players. Willock really impressed me this season because I wasn't impressed previously with him. AMN, I really like the way he is. But you have to have a little bit of steel in there. And, no offense on this season's showing. And it is the first year in this league for Guendouzi and Torreira. But I don't see them bringing steel to the side.
No. I think it's unfair as well. Like we've said, I don't think that's the way that you get the best out of some youngsters coming through either. Is to throw them all out there and expect them to do big things. Especially, people might sort of point at Ajax last season and how good they were, but they had a really good mix of youngsters and senior players. But also some of those youngsters, man, I don't think they're the exception to the rule, that team. So we can't look at them and say, well, why can't we do that? Because it's a different league. There's a lot more pressure on us in the Premier League. And I just don't think it works at our level to just go and throw too many youngsters into the mix without that extra guidance, because they just won't learn as quickly if you have a little bit more experience in there and only 1 or 2 of the youngsters there. Like a Guendouzi's going to do a lot better having a really good, solid experience. And when I say experience, I don't want the club to go out and buy 30-year-olds anymore, Jace. Or 28, even 29. I think we should be trying to target your 24 to 26-year-olds that are coming into that mature part of their career, that have gone through that phase already, that can actually be more of a mentor to the Torreiras and to the Guendouzis. So I really do hope we address that midfield spot. I think with Chambers potentially coming back in, Bielik coming back in, and hopefully Rob Holding coming back from injury, yes, I still think that defensively, if Mustafi's to go, with Koscielny being on one leg, I know your favourite Socrates is also hanging around.
He's rubbish.
So we do need something back there for sure. But I'm just highlighting an area that I haven't heard much about. Now, granted, I haven't really been following the transfer chat a whole lot. So, I mean, you guys probably know a lot more than I do if there's any whispers about midfielders. But I've just heard a lot more about left backs and wingers. I haven't heard much about midfielders.
Okay, well, look, I've not heard anything. Nicky. I couldn't give a monkey's, to be honest. We have no influence over this, so you get whispers, you get rumors, but just don't pay attention. You know that. But obviously, the two names in the hat at the moment are Kieran Tierney and Wilfred Zaha. So let's start with Tierney, because by all accounts, that's a done deal. You've got a guy who's done very, very well for Celtic. Celtic fans are gutted to lose him. Pace, defensive ability. But let's be honest, the Scottish League isn't the best. Are you excited about this signing?
A little bit. I think it's about time that we tried to look around those areas, because I think the adjustment period for someone like him is going to be a lot faster than potentially someone from Spain or Italy or a different climate, different language. I think the only big concern for me with that kid would be the injury record that he's had. But in saying that, young kids can tend to go through patches of ins and outs with injuries as their bodies are developing and they're sort of getting up to speed with being a professional athlete. So I'd have to look into it a little bit more to see exactly what kind of injuries that he was picking up. But like Danny said in the chat box, he's been getting player of the season, young player of the season, pretty much every season over there. So yeah, look, it's not the best league in the world, but it's definitely physical and competitive. It's not. He's not running around in the French league where they don't touch each other, Jace.
Oh, are we going to mention farmers?
No. Let's not go that far.
Oh, come on, please. I've been nice to Chris today. Right. Yeah, he's not a farmers league. Yeah. Well, I'm always nice to Chris, aren't I? I'm always nice to Chris. Yeah, he's not coming from a farming league, is he? So yeah, no, I'm excited about this. The guy's highly thought of. And I think he's coming from an area or, a position where we haven't really been shopping at over the last number of years. He's in that development stage and we're getting him for good value instead of having to pay stupid money when he's proven, if you know what I mean.
Are we selling Kolasinac? Is that what's happening or what's going on?
I have no idea. I mean, Nacho's legs, he looked done at the end of last season, so I don't understand why we'd sell Kolasinac unless it's to raise funds. Okay. And in which case, it's a big ask on Nacho Monreal to perform because again, there's somebody who's come off the back of a couple of injuries. He's getting to an age, and last season, he didn't look as if he could keep up with the pace. So we don't know how it's going to play out, do we? So, but I'm excited by the Tierney. Sort of potential signing or alleged signing, whichever you want to put it. But he's
it is a good start, Jace. Yeah. And like I said, at least it's someone that we can genuinely chat about. We can actually get excited about this one.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on then, mate. Because it's a nice one to start off with. Now, obviously, there's a lot of the talk about Chris Carpenter's favourite ever player, Wilfried Zaha.
Oh dear. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't.
Right, let me frame this for you under how I feel about this. Okay, and I want you to come back at me and tell me if you agree or if you disagree. Because this is a strange one. I like Wilfried Zaha. I think he's a very good player. I think I'm disappointed by his antics at times. Him and Guendouzi, when they beat us at our end of the season, were having a lying down competition so you can fake the referee the most, which I don't mind buying a free kick every now and again, but it was overkill after a while. But Wilfried's, and I may be out of touch with the marketplace here. Okay, I'm not saying I'm right doing what I'm saying. Just this is how I feel about it. Wilfried Zaha for anything over 30, 40 million quid. I think you can get better value on the continent with maybe a Fekir or maybe somebody else. And don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert in European football, but there've got to be good players out there. But the one thing Zaha brings you, he's Premier League ready. Last season, 10 goals scored in the Premier League, 10 assists. That's a decent return in a side which, as well as they did against the top teams, they struggled a lot of the time. Huddersfield did the double over them, I think. But we're talking 70, 80 million quid for him. And given that, we don't know exactly how much we've got to spend, but we know it's, we haven't got the war chest, as I even would like to say, a massive war chest. I think that's a large chunk of change And I don't care how you spread it, how many years you spread it over. And by the way, that is a normal, transaction when buying a player, spreading it over a term. But it's a large chunk of change for one player when I don't think we've really got the funds. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think if whether we do or don't have the money, to me, is kind of a little bit irrelevant, because if we buy him, we've obviously got the money. As long as we don't go selling someone, robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. There's no point selling Aubameyang just to go and buy Zaha. I don't think that that's a like-for-like replacement in any way, shape or form. So that wouldn't make any sense to me. I would rather just sort of, someone a little less sexy of a name, and maybe a Reece Nelson, versus losing an Aubameyang to bring in Zaha. That's kind of how I feel about that. But if he was added to the squad, I think that's a little bit of a different story. I think if we are able to get Mkhitaryan off the wage bill and, let go a few players, and there is money there to do it, then I'm still not sure how. He's one of those players, isn't he, that when he plays against you, he's nothing but a pest. And every time he gets the ball, you are concerned and you are worried because you know what he can do. But is he consistent enough?
10 goals and 10 assists last season says something in that team, okay? Bearing in mind, we weren't consistent as a team last season. We weren't consistent in our setups. We've got a pragmatic, tactically minded, tactically fluid manager, but that didn't transition into top four or solidifying the defence, or constructing a team which transitioned from defence into attack well. And maybe Zaha is the kind of missing piece that Unai thinks, well, yeah, this is the guy who can help me achieve this. But I kind of look around and, there was talk of the two Sampdoria players, the centre half and the midfielder. That's gone quiet. I just think, if we're signing him as a statement signing, that's wrong. If you're signing him for the player, then and you truly believe in him, great. But it's a hell of a lot of money for that guy. You know what I mean? And then how's it going to fit in? I mean, we've got Aubameyang, we've got Lacazette. I don't want to sell either. Now, you can turn around and you can say, well, you can only play one at a time. That's fine. It's a long season. We're going to need to rest people. You pick up injuries. Having two top quality strikers is going to, that's going to win you games long term. But you have to address the defence as well, don't you? You have to address the defensive side of the game as well as that attacking side. So, my big worries are obviously the midfield and centre backs. I like Zaha, but I wouldn't pay stupid money for him.
Do you think it's all a little bit of a red herring, though? I mean, Brandon Grosso in the chat said, I'd rather have a striker and a winger than two strikers. My point is that I want two strikers and a winger. I don't think that you need that shouldn't be the decision that we're making here. It should be, let's add to the two great strikers that we have, give them some help with a wide player. And if you are thinking about selling one of those strikers to buy a winger, then I think that you're going about it all wrong. Yeah. There was a lot of chat about that French winger. Sorry, I don't know if he's French. The kid in the French league. Chris knows his name. Everyone in chat will probably know his name.
Was it Nicolas Pepe?
No, I don't think so. Someone else. But anyway, there was a lot of chat about him earlier.
Martel.
Yeah, that's him, Claude.
Yeah.
And that's gone very quiet. And then the Zaha stuff's popped up. Now, I don't know if that's because the French kid is the backup, and Zaha's now the number one target. And that was a lot of talk going on because maybe they didn't think they could get Zaha, and now that's changed because Crystal Palace may be more open to lowering their price. I don't know what's going on, but I think we need somebody, and it can't be at the expense of another one of our good players leaving, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, this is the thing, okay? But I don't know how many goals. I mean, look, Aubameyang golden boot last season. Lacazette, you get work rate and thing. Though I felt he he tailed off at the end of the season. His first touch went to shit. I don't think he's getting support through from midfield, which he likes, because he likes to play off the midfielders. So, he suffered because of that. So, I think there's a couple of areas where we need to look at. I like Zaha. I wouldn't pay anything over 40 million quid, but I may be in cuckoo land. But the one thing I can't see is any competition for signing him. So why should you pay the world? He may be worth 80 million quid to Crystal Palace, but if there's only one team coming in for him, he wants to leave, and they're not prepared to pay 80 million quid, it's tough shit.
Well, we've had that situation many, many times, don't we? We know what it's like to be on the other end of that, where a player nominates a club and says, that's where I'm going and I don't want to go anywhere else. And you think to yourself, well, you're worth double what we're selling you for, but because you refuse, you can't get into a bidding war. So, look, I think there's probably a little bit to play out on that one. Ornstein saying that could get ugly, and probably what he means by that is the player starting to kick up a bit of a fuss with Crystal Palace and potentially, trying to force through a move, and you never want to see that stuff happening. But look, at the end of the day, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not that concerned about transfers and things, Jace. I'm more concerned about our game plan and what it is we're trying to actually achieve when we step out onto the pitch for next season. And like you said earlier in the show, are we going to see that identity start to creep in? Because I think it's very, very important that happens very, very quickly.
Yeah, we're going to come to that in a second. It's Claude Maurice, Archie, and
that's it. Alexis,
Brandon
Claude
Jason.
Yeah.
Brandon
Thanks,
Jason
guys.
Gross got straight and stuff. Thanks, lads, because I didn't have a word.
I'm glad we went live now, Jace. Otherwise, we would have.
Oh, you know what
would
it
have been would have been trouble. They've got our
the
backs.
thing is, okay, there's 52 of them in there right now. It's 1:10 in the morning. I'm very impressed with these people. Gospel Pan is in there. I haven't seen you before, Gospel. Nice to see you.
Are you impressed with how many likes we've got? What are the thumbs up doing?
I'm not really impressed with the likes, to be honest. The thumbs up is 13 of them. Well, it's 15 now, but to be honest, that's a little bit handbrake on, isn't it? I thought we deserved at least 20 by now. There's only 2 of us. We're talking bollocks, and we're keeping it flowing. I'm quite impressed with this. So it's up to 18. So come on, guys. 25, please. Tappy. Let's get going, okay? You're not being chastised today because we haven't played a game, but we'd appreciate a little nudge there. Archie makes the point, United are going to pay 80 million quid for Maguire, but I counter that with it's United. They always pay top dollar because they're the richest club, or one of the 3 richest clubs in the world. So they always have to pay top dollar. I don't think we have to all the time. And I think you can find value on the continent. I'm not a continental expert. You look at the likes of John and Carpenter for that sort of stuff. Josh is very good as well. But, I think structurally as a team, Dom, I think you've got to be looking at that midfield area. How are we going to connect the defence, midfield to attack? You need a different skill set. You need better athleticism than we have. And that's that for me is the elephant in the room, other than centre-backs. Now, let's get straight to centre-backs. Obviously, there's talk of Mustafi going. There's talk of Koscielny going. That would leave us with Rob Holding on his way back from injury. He's back in training, but there's a long way for him to go. You've got Chambers coming back from Fulham. You've got Mavropanos. You've got Socrates. I think have I mentioned him before? And then you've got Nacho, who can do a job there at times. If we do get rid of Mustafi and Koscielny, what's left doesn't
fill me with much hope, does it? Doesn't scream solid. Does not scream solid at all.
Now, here's my view on that. Obviously, you've got to wait for Holding to come back from injury, but I'd go straight from the start. I'd say to Holding and Chambers, you're my centre back pairing. We're going to go with you, build it, and see what you can do. If that's all we've got, because I've no faith in Socrates, and it's proven time and time again he's not sharp enough. His obviously loves a tackle and a fist pump. He's just not good enough. The same can be said for Chambers and Holding as a pairing. but at least at the end of not season just gone, season before, they were starting to build up a partnership.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? Is that you do always, and I've said this time and time again, centre-backs are all about those partnerships. We saw Koscielny and Mertesacker go about God knows how many games without losing and conceding F all. And it was about the partnership that they'd created at the time, not just with them, but the midfield in front of them and the wide players next to them, the fullbacks. So the big issue that you've got is that all the players that you've just mentioned haven't played together for any kind of consistent amount of time. You take Mustafi out of that side, you take Koscielny out of that side, and there's no one that's played over 10 games together. And that's why I keep saying I think that the bigger worry for me is the midfield. The bigger worry for me is connecting the midfield to the attack, because we're going to have to score some goals next season. Because we could bring in a couple of very, very good centre-backs. They're just not going to, well, it's very unlikely that they're just going to hit the ground running. And then you go and bring in Hector Bellerin back from injury. And then you bring in Kieran Tierney, that is a new player to a new league. Like, there's a lot of unknowns about all of those things. You don't have a solid back four like Chelsea did for years, where it's just plug one player out, pop one player in, knowing that, look, we're going to be okay. It's a whole new setup. It's very, very different.
Here's a couple of points in the chat box. Okay, so Prince Siva Subari. Oh God, you've nailed me here. Prince Siva Subramaniam. Siva Subramaniam. I think I got that right now. Do you think Chambers will be utilised as defensive midfielder like he was at Fulham, or playing central defence? I'd go central defence, but then RK says Chambers too slow and often ball watching. We didn't know that last season, but towards the end of the season before last, he was a stand-up centre-back in the run-in. Arsenic Gunner says Holding and Chambers, be prepared for relegation. But I would say if you had Holding and Socrates, it's not going to be any different.
No, that's the thing, is that the defensive...
Yeah, go on.
So the defensive stuff stems a lot further than just who you have in those two centre-back positions. And this is the part that I get a little bit frustrated with, I think, as a spectator, is... the fingers were always pointed at Mesut Ozil because he was a defensive liability and he wasn't getting picked. But okay, Mr. Unai Emery, that's fine, but we're conceding just as many goals with him as without him. So what is that telling us? That it's not an individual player's issue, it's the way the team's setting up. And so I think it's no different with the centre-backs, where you're seeing players get caught out of position there time and time again, but it doesn't seem to matter what centre-backs are playing there. And to me, that says that there's something wrong with the structures and the systems versus individuals. Now, yes, there were a lot of individual mistakes that led to goals. Socrates, Mustafi, Nacho Monreal was guilty a lot of the time. Xhaka was guilty a lot of the time. And that needs to stop for sure. However, again, how much of that is down to the fact that the game plan isn't fluid and the structures and systems aren't set up properly? They don't have outlets. They don't have players to pass the ball to quickly. They get caught in possession because they're caught in two minds, or whatever's going on. It's not just about having Maldini at centre-back thinking that fixes all my problems, because it's not how it works.
Agreed. And one of the points I want to bring up is, last season, I think we were in October time, and I was watching people, and people seriously saying this. I thought they were tweeting it rather than, I know you can't take Twitter as anything serious, but you saw people claiming that Torreira was the best DM in the league. Well, I can show you a dozen performances where he's not really stopping anything coming through the middle. He's not, helping the defense at all. And ineffective is putting it mildly. So, Unai needs to have a holistic view with this on how we play and how we defend as a team, because we're not covering each other, are we? We're not getting back into good positions to help out centre-backs, no matter who they are. And what we're talking about at the moment is who we'd have left and we know we've got, not who we might bring in. Lewis Dunk's been mentioned, etc. I like, my favourite centre-back of the last 10, 15 years was the Nemanja Vidic at United. I thought he was magnificent. And he kind of, I hadn't heard of him until he came to United. And you see a lot of good centre-backs around the place. I know we're linked with Saliba at the moment, but, he's a youngster, and the talk is if we do buy him, he's going back on loan. There's talk of Christian Bielik there. I think Bielik deserves a chance in the squad, but let's remember he's coming from League One. And
But
he's
interesting point though, Jace. You mentioned Nemanja Vidic. Who do you have next to him?
Rio Ferdinand. They were a great partnership, weren't they?
Okay, name any individual centre-back in the Premier League that's just been amazing. Who did Tony Adams have next to him?
Bold or Keown.
Who did Sol Campbell have next to him?
Toure or Keown.
You're talking about partnerships.
Yeah.
One player's going to shine a little bit more in the flash defensive stuff than the other. But at the end of the day, if you put, not only was it that, it's the whole back four. Every single one of those people that you've mentioned had players around them, had a good goalkeeper around them, had a solid left back in, Ashley Cole, or like it's not about the individual. Now, it's not saying these players aren't great in their own right. Of course they are. Of course, Nemanja Vidic is probably one of the best to ever play in the Premier League as a centre-back. However, you can't just go and plug one of those players in and then go, that's the solution. We need a centre-back that I think is a good player. It's about the partnerships around them and the solid teamwork around them in defences. Yeah,
Archie says here, Van Dijk made Matic look great and Gomez. Okay, so, I think love running Gomez this season, but he always had two holding midfielders in front of him. He always had two holding midfielders in front of him who were covering him. So, Van Dijk had a lot of help this season. And to be fair, you look at Nketiah, you look at Jordan Henderson, whatever you say about Jordan Henderson, he gets up and down that park.
Who were the best two fullbacks in the league last season?
Robertson and Terence Trent D'Arby, weren't they?
There you go.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You look at the work our fullbacks are asked to do, and there's talk of people saying Socrates is solid. I'm sorry, I just wasn't. Okay. But then again, Socrates didn't have any help from the fullbacks, did they? They were always so high up.
And that's what I'm saying, is that the structures and the systems don't help any of the defenders. There's nothing about what I saw last season that makes me think, yep, that's going to be a good way going forward in terms of defensive structures or setups, because everyone just seemed all over the place. And it's just, to me, it's just throwing your teammates under the bus. Hector Bellerin's being told to go up and get to the byline and cross a ball in, which he created so much chaos doing that. However, then all of a sudden we're screaming at Mustafi or Socrates or someone like that for conceding a goal. But where was his fullback? Well, he was asked to be halfway up the pitch attacking. And even someone like Hector Bellerin struggles to get back that quickly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We've got bodies back there for sure, but I don't really care who they are, because to me, it's not about the name as much as it is about how does the manager go about setting that up. Well, that's what it is for me.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? The team structure needs to be solid. We need to get plan A right, then work on plan B and plan C. And you need to raise the base level of the squad so you don't get a drop off in performance if somebody is out injured. So, these are things that obviously Unai has to look at. So let's leave that there then. There's so many different opinions on this. And, there's nothing that's right or wrong. It's just a case of it's something that Unai and Caicedo have to address, and they have to solve it. Because after the end of last season, it was so disappointing. I think if we start badly this season, the pressure's on them early doors, and how that pressure builds. If you get that pressure early, it can be a nightmare situation for them. So we need to start strongly as a club in the league. Obviously, we had some backroom changes, Dom. The first one I want to speak to you about, obviously, bearing in mind where you've just moved back to, where you're from, and your knowledge on the sport, is Darren Burgess leaving the club. To me, okay, it's a bit like the Bold and the Sven situation where these are just scapegoats for me. They're just scapegoats.
I think there's another layer to it as well. I think that he came into that position and being told by someone like a Gazidis, here's what we want you to do. Here's the role we want you to have. It was a very senior position in terms of it wasn't just about having the players fit and doing their strength and conditioning. It was head of high performance, which probably would have stretched a lot further throughout the club. And then Gazidis leaves. There's new men in town, a new manager that probably didn't. I don't know for sure, but it sounded to me from a few little things here and there that Emery wasn't exactly a big fan of listen. This is the thing in my industry, Jace. Everyone's an expert, and it's anyone that's ever eaten anything and lost a pound or two decides that they can then go and throw nutrition advice around to the world, or anyone that was ever played sport once upon a time is now also a fitness expert, and managers are no different. They all think that they know how to do it better, and that can be the biggest challenge that you have, and I think that that's probably something that he came up against. And you're right. I think
Brandon Jason Gross has just put in here. I want you to address this now, okay, because you know more about it than anybody else. Burgess also worked for a club in Australia while he was with us. That's the reason he was sacked. He wasn't a scapegoat. He deserved to be sacked. Go nuts, Tom.
Well, that's just incorrect. He was doing some consultancy work with Port Adelaide, which where he was at before he moved over there, and it was only a 6-month role to get them through the finals. So that had not been happening for the last year and a half. It's got nothing to do with it. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I could take a 20-minute trip down to Albert and Oval in Port Adelaide and ask the lads if you want me to, because I've got a good little friend of mine that plays for Port Adelaide, so he might be able to tell me a thing or two. But no, it's just incorrect, Jace. Incorrect.
And this is the thing. There's so many rumours flying around. We saw the briefing on Sven when they were getting Sven at the club, which, I still think to this day is effing disgraceful. Nearly as bad as that as the promo video Vinny and Raul put out.
Well, I thought that our injury record in terms of players coming back from injury, in terms of soft tissue injuries, in terms of all of those things. And you've got to keep in mind that when someone tears an ACL, that's nothing to do with fitness. That is nothing to do with fitness. It's an impact injury where an ACL snaps. It can happen to anyone, and it's going to happen more and more often because players are expected to be fitter and stronger and weigh more, and these ACL ligaments and things don't change size. So you're going to see that a little bit more. But I thought, considering the leanness of the squad, a lot of the players had pretty good injury-free records, really, didn't they? I mean, Welbeck's you can't put down to a lack of fitness. That was just horrendous.
Holdings impact.
And the ground that they were covering, I thought was quite a lot. So I look, to be honest, it does confuse me a lot. And what you'll see is Darren Burgess is going to get picked up by someone huge. Yeah. He is one of the best in the world. He really is, and it just baffles me. The guy's so good that there's a university course here that is world class and world renowned that he has had a huge influence over. That's the kind of level of sort of competence that guy has. I think that it was down to. I genuinely do think that it was down to the fact that Gazidis had this master plan, and he brought all of these people in, the Svens, the Burgesses. And that's why you're seeing them now leave, because what they were promised is not being delivered. And they've got issues with that.
So are you confident with Shad taking over that role?
Look, he is also very, very good. He is also very, very good. And I think with Shad, he's probably a lot happier to take... he's more of a consultancy agency, to be honest, Jace. Him and a few little guys were... first sort of came about with the German national team with the female soccer club, and then they moved into the men and did very, very well there. But again, that was always the concern, is that it's very different getting a national team to speed for competitions versus trying to manage a team throughout a season. Now, potentially he's now been at the club long enough where he's got that down pat, maybe learning a thing or two from Burgess as well, which would be great. So no, I think it's okay. I just think it's a shame that in Mislintat and Burgess, you've lost two people that are world-class, world-renowned in their fields, and they've left the club because what they were promised probably isn't being delivered because of the change in head office there.
Okay. And we've also seen Freddie moved up to first team coach and Steve Bold moved down to under 23s. Now, I've got a bit of an opinion on this. Steve Bold has had a lot of shade thrown at him recently, over the last number of years, to be honest, when Arsene was there as well. What does he do? What's he responsible for? His job title was never a defence coach. It was never, midfielder coach. It was assistant coach or coach the team. But let's be honest, what happened to this team this season was Unai's responsibility. Nobody else. He's the one who directs the team. He sets up the game plan. He's the one who dropped the ball up at the end of the season. In exactly the same way, it was Arsene's responsibility season before last. And so I find all this a little bit strange. If we are transitioning players from the under-23 side into the squad, I can see a benefit of having Freddie there. I can. But, Freddie's not going to change the wheel on this. Freddie's just going to bring, his experience from Wolfsburg and the under-23s into the squad. The decision makers are going to be Unai and Caicedo. So what are your thoughts on it?
I don't have many. That part of the structures and the systems inside the club is things that I'm really not very versed about, Jace. It's just not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I just find it. I'm just hoping he's not going to be the next scapegoat. Yeah, because it just seems as if there's been a lot of briefing from the club and scapegoating of other people, and when you look at the whole situation, it doesn't add up. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, look, I am pretty nervous and anxious about the fact that you just don't really know what's going on up there at the moment, do you? With an owner that's completely detached from the club and doesn't seem to really care what's going on in a performance sense. He's not banging on the door saying, "Hey, get me wins and here's some extra cash" or whatever. It's just not going to happen. I think that's a big issue. That a lot of the other clubs that have come up and done well, like your Liverpools and some other teams that we would like to try to emulate over the next few years, they don't have an owner like that. And so it's a bit unfortunate for us. And then with Gazidis finally getting what he wanted and then dipping last minute and leaving us with a few little issues there, it's definitely concerning going into the season because it's not just a new manager, it's a new everything. So it's a bit of a wait and see kind of period.
The Swiss Ramble thread this week was, it was a bit concerning, wasn't it? You look at that and you look at, with the things that came under Ivan's remit, which, he failed to improve on at all, was worrying. And don't get me wrong, Arsene Wenger's got a part to play in that, and obviously the Cronks have as well, you win as a team, you lose as a team, and even in that thing, but in that area. But Ivan was the guy who was going to make us competitive with Bayern Munich. Well, we've really dropped off that. So to wrap it up here now, okay, Arch says Emery's job is to motivate players. It is his fault for the tail end laughing my ass off. Well, he's the coach. He's the coach. You take the plaudits, you take the blame. Ultimately, what was the thing after the Watford at the end of the season, after it's all done, the blame game starts happening. Oh yeah, Aaron Ramsey insisted on playing against Watford. He insisted. He demanded to play. Well, Unai had no problem dropping him earlier on in the season. So all of a sudden, why is he now taking orders from Aaron Ramsey? It's bullshit. It's absolute nonsense and lies. And that's you can look at it any way you want. You can support Unai, and I've got no problem with that. We've got to support him. We've got to, but I look at certain things. Sorry, Archie, you was looking at the Haroon comment. My apologies, Archie. Haroon, he's the coach. He's the coach. It's his responsibility. That's how football works, mate. You know, they can't sell a squad of players. The manager gets it. So that's the way it goes. Dom, what are your hopes for the summer? What are your hopes for the transfer window?
Hopes for the transfer window is that we can get rid of some of the players that are just sucking wages. Your Mkhitaryan's, your Elnenys, and some of the guys that just aren't contributing to the squad and justifying sitting there on the bench, getting the kind of cash that they're getting. And to bring a couple of players in that are genuinely exciting prospects. And to be honest, I think we will. I really do. I think the club are going to be able to do those two things. Like I said, this is a time of the year where I'm a lot more optimistic than I have been in previous years, that we could potentially actually do those two things. And I don't care about names. I don't care about transfer fees. I just think that so far, if Tierney does come in, I'm excited for that. I really am. I think that it's a position that we need filled with the right kind of player that it needs filling with. Look, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But what I didn't like with Arsene Wenger in these times is that he had that attitude, and we keep going back to that Petr Cech transfer window where it was, oh, I couldn't find anybody to improve the squad. Well, I'm sorry, pal, but you mustn't have been looking very hard, because it's not like that was a title win. We weren't coming off the back of a 100-point season, were we? So that's the attitude that I'm more optimistic that isn't there anymore. And I think that, bringing in a young player here or there, even if I've never heard of them, it excites me, and that's fun. That's a fun part of being a football fan. I think it's something that we can all connect over, and we can all chat about, and we can all have good conversation about. And like I said, I'm okay with it not working out. At least you've given it a try. You've gone out there and you've decided that's an area of the field that you'd like filled. It's up to the talent scouts and all the other people that are in these positions that know 20,000 times more than I do to identify what they believe at the time is the right player. And, if it works out, then awesome. And if it doesn't, well, that's okay too.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Obviously we haven't filled although Ed, who's the hot money on the for sporting director, so to speak, that position. So, we may lack a little bit of direction there. But I kind of agree. If you're bringing in a wide man, a centre back, and a midfield at the very least, as well as Tierney at left back, I think 4 solid signings there would really help us. As to the quality and the names, if there's belief in the talent, then you've got to trust that belief and go from there. We weren't far off getting top 4 last season. We really weren't. And that's the disappointment from last season, is we were in pole position. United imploded, so we're out of the game. Chelsea and the scum, drop points, and we just made it so easy for everyone, and that was really disappointing. A better fist of it this season would help. A prediction for next season, mate?
If I'm being pessimistic, I would say that we will struggle to hit sort of 5th, and we won't. We will struggle to find that football identity that I was talking about, and we'll concede a lot of goals without attacking much. But you know what? We're going to look damn good doing it, because those kits are fire. And then if I'm being more optimistic, I think, look, we weren't too far off. I don't see a lot of the other clubs around us doing anything too outrageous so far. I think United will still have some struggles. I think Chelsea will have a lot of struggles with the transfer ban and a few issues that they potentially might have with new managers and things. I think we have an opportunity to try and get that 4th spot. I think that it's still going to be Man City and Liverpool at the top.
Yeah.
And then I think that 3rd through 6th is actually going to be a little bit of a dogfight, to be honest, Chase. I don't think we're the only club with a few issues as of right now, but like I said, that it depends what side of the bed I wake up on. My optimistic sort of side of me says, yeah, there's a few other teams that are also in some shitty spots. Maybe we can sneak 4th. And the more so glass half empty says, we might struggle here.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I look at Chelsea and United, Ole and Lamps. Well, I think also you got the transfer ban with Chelsea. I think we're in with a shout to top four. We really are.
Yeah, I think
You know,
so.
I think we got an opportunity here, but we had an opportunity last season as
That's
well.
right. Yeah, we
Uh,
shat the bed there for
yeah,
sure.
massively.
And the reason why we shat the bed was because everybody else was also trying to shit the bed. We just shit more.
Yeah. Oh, we shit all over the bed, mate. They just shit in the pillows.
That's
They
right.
did
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pillows.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We did the
We didn't
rest of
just
the
shit
bed.
in the bed. We then rolled around on it for the night too. So it was
Oh,
just
we rolled around in it and then we slept in it, which is even
yes,
worse.
exactly.
Yeah,
We had a big night out. That's for the difference. We had a big night out. We came home. We've just shat the bed.
we went on a proper weekend, didn't we? We went
Yeah,
out.
we did. We
But
went proper out.
it's this side of it. When I look at it, positive. My positive head on. Yeah, we can make top four, no problem. I don't have. As much as people bemoan the squad, I think okay, we've lost Ramsey. That's a big loss. I think losing Welbeck's a big loss. I think the keeper's solid. Centre backs. If Kos stays and we can play him, Premier League only for argument's sake, that will solidify us a little bit. But I'm not. We do need to bring in somebody to strengthen there. But how the club are going to go about that, I don't know. We need that midfielder more importantly, because our transitional play was, when Rambo wasn't available, obviously it fell off the face of a cliff. But if we can, if we can cut out some of the stupid errors we made in defence, and and just make that transition a bit more fluid, we could be in a good position. But my heart says top four. I can't see us winning a trophy, and my head says we'll finish sixth. And
that's the thing. The head talking might change by the end of the transfer window too. So
Yeah, I mean, Arsenic Gunner says there, Jace, we have the worst squad and figured out tactics. We ain't finishing top four, my friend. And that's what my head's telling me, Arsenic. I agree.
But the squad could change by the end of the summer. That's the thing. I think in the position that we're at now, by the end of the summer, I don't see anything other than improvement. I just don't. Only because I don't see how it could get any worse from where it is right now.
Oh God, this is we're like the cheerleader squad for
No.
doom.
Like I said, I'm genuinely optimistic at the moment in terms of the transfer stuff. I think that at the moment they're in a position where they wouldn't have announced a bunch of signings before July 1st because of the kits. I think that is a big, an actual legitimately, a real thing. I just don't think that they would have announced players in Puma kits only to then turn around and sign with Adidas a couple of days later. So I think that there's probably a lot of stuff that's probably done and or has been done, and they're just sort of timing things right for PR and all the other nonsense that goes on about. But yeah, like I said, I'm optimistic about the transfer stuff, and I think maybe what my head's saying now will be very different to what my head says in a month's time. But also, like I said, if you then weigh up what a lot of the other clubs are going through, they're not exactly solid units, are they? They're not exactly in solid positions where we're really going to have to overperform. I think we just have to, like we said, come home from a big night out, go to bed, wake up with clean sheets, and we'll be okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree. The reason we haven't spoken about Gabriel Martinelli, guys, is we don't know a massive amount about him, to be honest with you. He's a youngster. He's not, if he impacts on the first team a lot this season, I'd be very surprised. But we will cover him with the likes of Josh, Chris, and John in upcoming shows. That's it for tonight. We can go for an hour and a quarter.
That'll do then, won't it?
Yeah, that'll do.
You got to go to bed.
Damn right I might have to take my mother shopping tomorrow for a new TV.
That does not sound. Oh,
no, it doesn't. And then
that'll test your patience. That will.
Yeah, but the thing is, got a family meal lined up
I went over to visit my grandparents for about a week, and you try sitting down with your 87-year-old grandfather and teaching him how Google Chrome works and how his iPad works.
If my
And you tell me about patience.
Both my grandfathers are long dead. Okay, if they managed to work out Google Chrome, I'd be amazed. Yeah, and actually, one of my mother's father, he looks like Raoul Sanlehi.
Oh dear,
he really does. And he used to wear a toupee. He did.
The old rug.
Rogue. Oh yeah, the old rogue had a rug. It was funny. I remember the first time as a kid I saw him out there. I thought, "Who the hell is that?" Instead of screaming, "Stranger, stranger danger!" I didn't know what stranger danger was, but Arsenio Wonga's in the box. Look at him go. Hi, Arsenio. Oi, pal. But yeah, I was terrified. What the hell is this geezer? Yeah, let's just wrap this up. Oh, this could go on forever. Right, that's it for tonight, guys. Dom, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, pal. It's been too long.
Yeah, I know. We hopefully we can organise some times throughout the season. I can do some radio shows and whatnot.
Yeah, we saw something out. Right, listeners, how are you all? To you, lunatics in the box, thank you ever so much. There's still 46 people watching. I can't believe that. It's 1:45 in the morning, GMT, and you idiots are still in there. And as Arsenic Gunner says, tappy. That's right. I should have 40 likes for this. Come on, 40 thumbs up, guys. Come on, let's get going. Let's tap that like button. Let's give it a stroke. Let's go for it. Yeah, let's make me happy. Alan Craig, good night to you, pal. Right, coming up now, guys, we'll do a weekly transfer show. We're not going to tell you what's going to happen because we don't bloody know. We're just going to give you thought. Haroon, thank you for your support, pal. Really appreciate it. We're just going to give you our thoughts on how things are going, or how we'd like them to go, etc. Okay, we'll try to get all the boys on to make sure everybody, we get all the views going and what have you. If we do make a Zaha type signing, we will go live immediately. Okay, that day, well, not immediately, but that evening, that day. We played Boreham Wood on Saturday, as Arsenic Gunners just said. Let's smash them 20-0. Let's just get a team out at the moment, because that's what I'm worried about. We've got the US tour coming up. We'll try to do some bits on that with some American fans, etc. We're trying to get a fan special going. If you do want to be part of it, please message the Twitter account of the podcast. We've already sound tested a couple of guys, trying to get a couple more on. It's just a bit like today, but from a listener perspective, because obviously you hear a lot of us, so you kind of know I'm a negative Nelly at the moment. So we need some positivity. We need some different. You
need to get the deluded Chris on.
Oh, I can't wait to. I love pod. We both love podding with Chris Carpenter, don't we?
Oh no, we need to go over there wherever he is, and we need to sort his life out a little bit for him, and get his time schedule organised, and make sure that his priorities are actually set. And he prioritises us a little bit more.
He's got a new job.
I'm feeling a little bit left out over here,
Yeah, but he's got a new job, girlfriend, and football team. Well, that's what I thought today. New job and a girlfriend and a football team. I mean, what's he doing in his life? But we'll have Daniel back soon. Danny would have been on tonight, but he's changing his time zones because he's got Sexy Frank's kids' christening on Sunday. So he's got to go to bed earlier so he can get up on time for the christening. And Sean is godparent to Sexy Frank's little one. So that's the reason for us, doing this together tonight. And we asked the American guys, but Shredder's on the screaming lash because it's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, my American friends. OG he's shaved. He's lost the beard, so he's just completely looking handsome. So he couldn't come on because he'd throw us all in the shade. So just got us pair of farts. So yeah, that's it. So there will be content coming up, guys. A weekly transfer special in the run-up to the season. Live show after every competitive game. We won't be doing them for the tour games or anything like that. But we will discuss them on the weekly transfer show, etc. We'll try to get a bit of content out on the show, on the tour. Nexus One, they're in training at the moment, the Bergkamp Pirates. How they're doing, they're not losing, so they're doing better than they were in the season. But training, it's not losing. It's great, isn't it? So we just, go forward from there. And I'm rambling now, aren't I?
Yeah, I stopped paying attention about 2 minutes ago, to be honest.
I think the listeners did about an hour ago, to be fair. We'll leave this with Bergkamp as the final, saying he wants to Corey, Dunk, Tierney, and Fraser. I'd go with 3 of those. Fraser, I'm not a fan of. I think he's a little bit too lightweight, but he had a great season last season, didn't he? That's it for tonight. Dom, cheers, bro.
Thank you.
I look forward to podding with you this season again. To all you lovely listeners, you are fantastic. I got 39 likes. You're taking the piss. Come on, somebody's got to tap that like button. 40, please. Take care, guys. Good night. I look forward to sort of seeing you all throughout the season and having a bit of fun with you. If you want to get involved with the listener special, please message the pod account and we'll see what we can do. Sound is going to be an issue, so we'll look at that. From ABW Live, thank you ever so much. Take care. Good night. Let's look forward to the season and keep it Arsenal. Adios.